Mr. Investor, welcome back to the channel, baby. I'm back.
Hello to all my nanodimensioners.
Nanodimension, the 3D printing, additive manufacturing electronics company. With Nanodimension, since we've been covering it, we've seen a parabolic rise all the way up to $15, and now it's sitting just under $3. Today we're going to be covering some updates on what's going on in the world, including Ukraine, including supply chain issues, factors that could affect Nanodimension and how they're currently progressing. We're going to talk about that 10 milli revenue in the last quarter, baby, with the balance sheet still looking strong. They also announced some news in May saying they're going to do something they said they wouldn't do, which was actually repurchase shares. And with the current situation continuing to escalate and be prolonged out, no ceasefires in the kind of horizon in terms of the Ukraine invasion, is this gonna be good or bad for business? Before we begin, none of this is financial advice, for entertainment only. I just want to thank everybody for their love and support. I've finished my nursing contract. I'm now coming back to creating content full-time on YouTube, and I have 2 YouTube channels. One is a travel channel, the other one is this investment channel. So let's get into Nanodimension. Let's look at the most recent updates. Let's talk about what's been going on in terms of partnerships. So for the first quarter of 2022, the total revenues have increased to $10.4 million compared to $7.5 million in the last quarter of 2021. Now just looking at the revenue in terms of year over year. Now let's look at 2020's revenue, which was inhibited by the elephant in the room, C-19, as they said, where Nanodimension claimed that they found it very difficult in terms of lockdowns, in terms of going to customers, customers catching C-19, staff members catching C-19, and factories, people working from home and not being in the factories. Then we go over to 2021 and we can see the total revenue for that year was $10 million. So we went $3.4 million, $10 million, and now in this first quarter of 2022, revenues hit $10.4 million in that first quarter. So they're looking to scale up, they're selling more machines, it's still quite slow. And net loss for that first quarter of 2022 was $33 million. So although you generated $10 million in revenue, you still lost overall. But this is natural for a growth company. They're trying to expand and grow as much as possible. In terms of the net loss for the quarter, we can see lots of the expenses were the cost of revenue for the sales. We can see research and development was $17.8 million. And although Yoav's trying to keep a tight ship and not burn too much cash because of the uncertainty, he has to utilize the cash in order to continue expansion and growth and adoption of the LDM.
Dragonfly.
Also, with payroll being more expensive as they've acquired some companies, increased headcount and increase in payroll expenses. Are they going to go bankrupt? Not anytime soon, with $1.3 billion as of March 31st, 2022. They still got a tight belt on it. And although lots of investors during the call called in and said, they're a bit impatient, they want to see this back up to $9, $10 this stock. As more AME systems get sold, more PCB assembly systems get sold, and they get more customers on board, as well as complete some efficient acquisitions. When we see a huge revenue boost and we see that, by end of year, I think they're aiming for $40 million as guidance. Perhaps the year after we'll start to see the stock price increase drastically. But Yoav has always said that he's playing the long game. It's going to take a while for adoption. And here Yoav also stated that, they're planning to buy back $100 million of shares in this kind of repurchase plan. But this has to go through the Israeli courts before they're able to do this. They said that they're not going to buy back shares. That wasn't their plan. But because Nanodimension is currently trading at a market cap of less than $800 million, less than $800 million, they got $1.3 billion in cash.
Moving swiftly on.
Let's talk about the Russian invasion of Ukraine and how it could be affecting the business. So it looks like there's no halts, there's no ceasefire. It looks like this is continuing to go ahead and be prolonged. And while this uncertainty is around, supply chains globally are just getting smashed all over the place. We can see here that Ukraine, in terms of the global supply of neon, the US historically sourced as much as 90% of the required semiconductor neon from Ukraine, and Ukraine supplies about 70% of the global supply. Now, they're not in the business of creating semiconductors, what Yoav has said, but Ukraine is also a major supplier of xenon and krypton gases, also critical to chip manufacturing. And apparently without neon, chip production comes to an abrupt halt. Now let's look at some positives. Let's talk about Hensoldt and Nanodimension, their joint venture. So in terms of a partnership, let's look at Hensoldt and what they've been currently up to. They're very strategic, Nanodimension, in who they choose their partnerships with, and they can see that Hensoldt has again won some important major orders. They've increased their order intake year on year by 25% to 681 million euros, which is $729 million in the first quarter of 2021. The CEO of Hensoldt, Thomas Müller, said that their successful start to the fiscal year proves once again that they're setting the right strategic priorities. Their high-tech portfolio makes us the right technology partner to tackle the security challenges of tomorrow. This is even more crucial as Europe currently faces an entirely new security situation. And check this out, the war against Ukraine is not only a human tragedy, but it's led to a turning point in European and German security policy within a few days. So there's actually a special fund that's been initiated by the German government.
And how much is that special fund, baby?
Well, 2 days ago we saw multiple news outlets talking about the German coalition government CDU agree 100 billion euro military boosts. Over here, another source said the Japan Times said they've agreed on $107 billion to modernize the military in the face of Russia threats. And are they taking this serious? Well, Hensoldt has invested in a new location in the south of Germany. This will include a new production and administration site by 2025. Hensoldt is currently investing about $100 million of euros worth in this new location here. And the Hensoldt group has said that they're facing a high demand for high performance military equipment for the German armed forces and members of NATO. Hensoldt continues to win major contracts as well in Europe, as they've won a major contract for the Eurofighter service. Here they're going to be looking after approximately 500 aircrafts that will be maintained by Hensoldt. And over the other side of the Western world, we can see here that Biden has started to talk about 3D printing technology, stating that it can reduce lead times by as much as 90%, slash material costs by 90%, and cut energy use in half. So it seems like everybody's catching on to, sustainability, trying to save as much as possible and create better bottom lines, as well as speed up innovation. And just over a month ago, if we take a look at L3Harris, they've been awarded more contracts. So this is another partner. L3Harris has partnered with Nanodimension, and they're constantly being awarded military contracts from many customers around the world. One of the contracts is a $6 billion IDIQ contract to replace legacy Synca radios to the US Army. L3Harris has been working with the Department of Defense in the US for many years, since the 1980s, and they already delivered over 300,000 radios. Another defense contractor, Tactical Air Support, selected L3Harris to upgrade its F-5 Advanced Tiger fighter aircrafts. Yoav Stern's been talking about, increasing sales in North America, and apparently government packages, the government wants to aid and really boost US additive manufacturing. This is because there's several issues that additive manufacturing can kind of solve. Not only does it promote innovation, but it can solve a whole host of current problems. From supply chain issues to offshore manufacturing jobs, simply losing out to other nations when it comes to innovation. Biden's put in a big statement. He said, not all the small and medium-sized firms have access to the resources, to financing and the support that they need to adapt to the technology until today. So are they going to put their money where their mouth is, and will they be implementing this new package of aid for small, medium businesses? I was reading through the transcript as well. So in the next video, I'm going to be taking a look at this earnings call and just breaking down my thoughts and feelings about it. Hit me up in the comments, let me know your thoughts and feelings. Remember, none of this is financial advice, for entertainment only, and I just want to know how you feel about Nanodimension in terms of the progress so far, the cash burn rates. Do you think these guys are going to be able to get adoption? And do you think the current climate that we're in, the current situation, is going to drive lots of people to adopt the new technology and to uptake the LDM, especially if it can solve some of the security issues, supply chain issues that people are currently facing, as well as cut cost times and potentially save them money, materials, and to be sustainable, more sustainable within 3D printing?
Yeehaw! Let me know.
Please remember, none of this is financial advice, for entertainment only. If you're able to join channel memberships and support us, we're going to be making content again full time. We're going to be going for it on our 2 channels. So thank you so much for your love and support, and I'm going to catch you in the next video, baby. Mr. Investor Lot, over and out, baby.